Going on, everybody? It is Izzy back oven back again, y'all. So I know what you're thinking. This originally planned on only being one part, but Vinny was dropping too many gems. I said, nah, y'all, we got to keep it going. It was, from his talks with the man who was behind the Kanye West trilogy that's on Netflix, from him detailing more events about him at MTV and how to spot a star, because again, a lot of people think they got it, but everybody ain't got it. And also, he talks about, why the Spring Bling was canceled. Y'all remember MTV Spring Bling? I know if you're a millennial like me, when you grew up watching that and the BET Spring Bling and all that stuff, you used to be like, man, I want to go to that. And you find out why it was canceled and why we pissed that we couldn't make it to that. So again, y'all, more gems. I wanted to break it into two parts because I try to keep my episodes under an hour. So thank me later, because it could have been two, and I didn't want to do that in 1 week. So as always, sit back, relax, enjoy part two of So You Think or So You Want to Be a Star. So, have you ever been maybe behind the scenes close with somebody, which I'm sure you have, but close with a celebrity or close with somebody that's in that spotlight and kind of seen them break down? And if you did, and you don't have to say name unless you want to, but how do you know how they overcame it?
Yeah. I respectfully would love to share this story because we've spoken about it together on my podcast, and he speaks about it a lot on other podcasts. But this reminds me of a story working with Caduce, who I got to work with at MTV. And I don't know if you're familiar with him. Most recently seen as the guy who introduced Kanye to MTV in part 1 of 3 of the Kanye trilogy. But Caduce, we were in Key West. You talk about these like Cancun moments we were talking about earlier. So MTV would have these summer houses. So we had a summer down in Key West, which was really, really hot. Mandy Moore, we just gave Mandy Moore her first talk show. I think she was just turning 17. Her birthday is in April, so she just turned 17. Caduce was coming from Canada to New York for like 2 weeks for some Times Square MTV action, and then we went right down to Key West. And the combination of the pressure live, he was the first new VJ on live TRL in a while, so he was doing live hits with Carson on TRL down after shooting 5 episodes of Mandy Moore's talk show in the morning. And the pressure got to him really, really bad. It got to a lot of the talent bad, but Caduce specifically, hyperventilating and just what he would consider a pure, full-on nervous breakdown and panic attack, and stopped and had to take a step back and actually took some time off and got better. And I stayed in touch with him throughout that entire process. I knew that we could cast somebody new,
Right.
but I got to work with him, and as I mentioned to you, like I got to spend 2 weeks with him in New York. I was part of that New York love, and then we traveled to Key West together, and that was my first real trip as an MTV person. That was like my first real big trip to show the network what I was capable of doing. And Caduce and I were literally on the same track. We felt very equal in terms of authority in the space, and respectfully so. I was the guy he would tap on the shoulder to go down to the studio and record, show ideas that he would have, or segment ideas that he would have. So we were always creating and collaborating. But I think that communication never ceased. Sometimes when I don't know what to say, I know I still have to stay in touch because I don't want my silence to be misinterpreted. So as a casting executive, as an executive producer, as a brother, as a friend, I'm very sensitive about when I have no updates or nothing to say. I can sometimes say, well, I don't know what to say, so I didn't say anything, but that's interpreted completely differently. So I know that. So I understand that law of whatever that the universe has thrown my way. So I accept that law. But it was, and I know Caduce had some real work ahead of him. He got real medical attention and help, and got real, got stronger before he came back. And then he stayed at the network longer than I did. I left in 2007. I think he was there until like 2009. It's so cool.
End of an era. So Now everybody is, TikToking. We talked
Mhm.
about it a little earlier. Again, it's so funny how I talk about one thing and my guest always seems to bring it up even before I get to it, which is good because it kind of is a nice, segue or whatever. So, according to an article, it's called "Every Kid Wants to Be an Influencer." TikTok's algorithm is designed to promote content that survives through different waves and tests so it stays viral. It says this is explained by Ishan Gold, founder of marketing agencies and Gold Strategies. He says TikTok content is generally tested in smaller audience buckets or pods, he said, adding that more shares, rewatches, comments, or likes a video receives, the bigger the bucket the audience is introduced to, so that it has a chance of going viral. We talked about it earlier with people going viral, and what do you think the chances are of people going viral off a podcast now?
Oh yeah, tremendous. 100 million, thousand billion, trillion, billion% yes. Final answer. Yeah, slap at the buzzer. 1,000%. I mean, we just this gal, it's infinitely growing. They're right now. Again, we're looking at it as almost like a premium piece of content.
Hmm.
When in fact every single person can own their own content. Podcasting is what it sounds like to own your own content. When you own your own content, you have something physical. I was going to say not physical, but you have something, it's physical. There's a file, and there's like, from a legal perspective, I can get real clinical with you and technical with you and tell you
Right.
what the ownership of it is, the IP, of it is and isn't, by the way. Um, but if relationships are valued as much as I believe they're going to continue to be, then the way we communicate with each other is our currency. And right now, how we communicate with each other is a creative endeavor. And that's done predominantly on social media, or even in text and memes and giffies, however you say it.
I don't know
Um,
either.
so what's that?
No, you said gifts or just whatever. I said I don't know either.
Oh, gifts. Yeah, right. I don't know. I
Yeah,
never
I don't know.
gifts on Jiffy. I don't know. I get it wrong. I upload them. I know to upload it. I upload images that I think are fun so that other people can create with them. I love that idea.
Yeah.
That what I loved most about what I did at MTV on Punked was, and by the way, it was my job to get the celebrities to sign the releases afterwards. That was my job. My job sucked. By the way, I just
Oh,
want to know. I did not have the glamorous job. I got the cast, but
so hold on, Holiday. So was there ever a celebrity that said no?
yeah. Sometimes jokes went mean, accidentally were mean. Accidentally,
Mm.
accidentally
Oh,
were insensitive. Like there was one person that we did a huge, because punk was about the ridiculousness. Punk wasn't about can I zap you, can I zing you. Punk was, can I change your reality so that you actually believe this is even feasible, little, you know what I
right.
mean? Like that's what punk was like. It was grandiose. It wasn't transactional, haha, gotcha, you sat on a whoop cushion, show. It was like, you believe the whoopee cushion was talking to you for 2 hours. You talk, you know what I mean? It's like that. Um, my or I did one. I punk. Oh, I feel bad now saying this. I one of the, I, very rarely did I get involved. But if ever we were in production, and because the punks really did have to be fluid, and they really truly, the celebrities were not involved in it, and to as much as we knew about it, the celebrities did not know they were going to get punked. And Ashton, like, we were all pretty strict. Like, it's a lot more fun when it was real, like that. But when there was a window and we had to shoot something, I would have to sort of act quickly. So Kevin, um, from the Backstreet Boys, wanted to pitch a show to us. It was like an adult puppet show. Actually, it was the pitch, but
Mm.
but we were running low on in production, so to for him to get into the building, we ended up punking him and doing this elaborate, like, um, security skit and whatever, and it's all fun. But yeah, but then I got the cat. Yeah, and I didn't cast Dax, and I didn't cast Al in the original cycle, but I did get to cast subsequently the actors on Wow and Out, Punked, and then what was the other show on MTV that we did that it would test people's limits to see how far they would go, or I
Right.
forget what that show is called. Anyway, I digress.
Look, it's good. Like I said, you got a lot of this stuff you probably didn't forgot about. You got so many memories and things that didn't happen. So who knows, you know? So this is a question for you and for anybody out there who, you know, they putting out the content. And it ain't just podcasts, it's whatever they doing. Whether they doing TikTok dances, whether they doing murder mystery recaps on their YouTube channel, whether they doing makeup, whether they singing, dancing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What are three things anybody can do to increase their chances of being discovered without selling their soul?
Uh, well, winning awards for sure is one of them, right? So, like, winning awards gets your name on lists. It gets your name published on other websites. It allows you to put a link to that website. Hopefully, that website will put a link to you. And if you have a podcast and you win an award, you're also able to put that in IMDb. The reason why that's so important is, and then here's my second thing: credits, getting credits. So right now, what's like gold currency for creatives is your credits on IMDb. Think of IMDb as like the most important place for creators right now, because old school people know it as a place for creative credits. Like that's where film credits and TV credits,
Right.
and IMDb for years, and it's owned by Amazon. IMDb for years has been really, really ironclad about the types of projects that qualify to be listed on IMDb, and podcasts are one of them. So with my podcast, by the way, I'm able to connect a data point to my production company that's won awards, that's licensing and non-exclusively licensing deals. I have contact information there. Previous and current employees who've worked with me, or agents or managers. There's so much information that IMDb has. And by the way, you can get a free 30-day account. Like you get sign up for the free 30-day thing, and I'll tell you how to make sure you maximize your 30 days. And you don't even need to have an account to create. You have to have a credit to create an account. So that's just one thing. You can't create an account and then add a credit. You have to have a credit on a show. So whether that's a podcast, so if you have to upload your podcast first and then say you're the producer, the editor, the host. Those are three big titles that Amazon is going to tell Google. So by the way, if you type in "I have a podcast" on any search platform right now, hopefully, I wonder if this works for everybody. I think maybe this is just for me. I'm curious if it works. But my podcast should come up on Amazon or on iTunes. But I called it "I have a podcast" because we all go around saying it. There was like this, I love that part, like sort of like like AA, like, hey, I'm Vinnie and I have a podcast. Like I can relate to creative people who own their content. So awards are important. Credits are important. I'm going to skip distribution. I'm going to for a second because that's expected. I want to go straight to amplification. So distribution is I'm getting it on social media. Amplification is now what? How are you getting it from social media listed into the news? How are you taking it from that social media account and calling up 50 of the top meme accounts and asking them to re-amplify? Or what amplification platforms are you using? Like I mentioned earlier, vpe.tv/QUUU. This is an amazing blog amplifier. You drop your blog URL in it, and then people, Facebook, LinkedIn, if they're looking for the type of content that you're posting, they put it in their Hootsuite and they send it off to the world, and they look like a genius because you took the time to not only create the content, but put it in the aggregator. And by the way, that gets syndicated to every big medium-sized blog in English-speaking countries if it's written, I'm assuming, in English. So think Australia and UK. And now you understand why these international territories are so important, So So I think awards, I think credibility, and I think amplification. If I had to stick to three, that's sort of I think a pretty that's a pretty sustainable approach to creating, where you're able to, because if you're amplifying, if you're asking for partnerships because you're looking for more eyeballs and you're offering content as opposed to asking for permission to create something based on someone else's financial contribution to your idea. You see how I just said that? That's how I think, by the way. I'm like, I never, I come from TV. So for 25 years, we'll say 20 years, people have been able to hire me, and then I do my thing. I cast a show, I develop a show, whatever. I make something happen for somebody because I get hired to do it. Podcasting allowed me to not ever allow somebody to tell me when I can and can't do what I love doing, which is what I just said is my favorite part of what I get to do. I get to get on the phone with people and say, how come you're not directing episodes of TV yet? And then they go and do it. How come you're not recording with your ex? That would be like a crazy, and then they're doing it. And how come you're not recording with your current? And then they're doing it. Like it's to inspire creativity, and I'm really passionate about, and maybe this is because I started at MTV, I'm really passionate about helping people see success earlier in their career. Otherwise, or earlier in their creative experience. Otherwise, they quit, they fail. If you quit and fail, if you have a bad experience, you're never coming back. And that sucks. I hate it. It's horrible seeing people leave way before their time and I fully get it because of finances and family and business opportunities and everything else that happens sooner than that creative thing can happen. So if winning awards and getting credits and connecting you and helping find ways to collaborate and create red carpet moments, there's like Clubhouse. Go tell everybody where you're going to be every Thursday. That's what a red carpet is. A red carpet, red carpets. So press has a system. There's like a routine that they have to output content in. Knowing when a red carpet exists allows me to know that I'm going to be able to get what I need when I go there. The red carpet is an important piece to the celebrity branding, metaphor. That would be my fourth thing: is like create your own red carpet moments. And it's not putting out a podcast. But that's like a film. That's a different sort of energy. I'm talking about being someplace at some time and accessible to a certain degree in an understood manner. I don't even know what that means, by the way, whether that's on camera or off camera, whether that means I'm going to go do something. You have to get your questions into me by Tuesday, because Thursday I'm going into town hall with these questions. Or it means on Thursdays at 4:00, tune into LinkedIn audio events. I'm there every Thursday. Either way, those are red carpet moments that you're fully in control over. And it's an important step.
It's funny because one, you made a comment when you was like, you tell people, why are you not doing this? Then you said they do it, right? Clearly you got the eye for that. And obviously it works. What is a tip? Because you keep saying amplify. So you gave a few, but what are some other ways a person could amplify themselves to get like those eyes? Because ultimately, a lot of times when people who podcasting and YouTube, whatever, they wanted this to be their full-time job. And then some people, they cool with just this. And some people, it's like, I want this to be my full-time job, but I want it to open doors for other stuff once I get to this. So what's some ways you could give to somebody who's trying to turn their creative content? They may be tired of their job. Hint, hint, wink, wink. They tired of their job. Every time they go in there, they got an attitude. So what's something that they could do to help amplify that stuff?
All right. Well, first off, if you're tired of your job, if you're tired of work, that is one thing. If you're tired of your job, I get it. But if you're tired of work, then don't try to be a creator, because you're going to work way harder as a creator, as a solo practitioner, as a solopreneur, even as a 20, owning a 50-person agency. Still, if you're a creative, you are going to work way harder than if you're working for somebody else. So if you don't like the work, don't be a creator. How about that? Now, on the flip side, I want to say there's no work in being creative. It's emotional. It's just right now I'm connecting with my mouth because there's a microphone in front of me, you know. If I couldn't talk and I couldn't see and I had a paintbrush in my hand, I would find a way to communicate, you know. I'm actually a very creative communicator. I'll say I'm actually, I would say, a strategic creative communicator. So I enjoy social media. I enjoy digital media so much as an offshoot of what I got to learn and do in TV, which in the beginning was data management. So like I'm a data engineer. I learned how to like digitize code video and transcribe code, beta to high 8 to VHS, and like I learned TV from like 1995 to 2000. I bring that up because like there's no more hard disks since 2000. There's, you know, everything starts changing really around then. So how we shared media was really difficult, and I understood the basic piece of that, and then I got to learn storytelling at MTV for 10 years. The way, you know, I got to, some people say it's building celebrity brands, but storytelling is, you know, what we got to do. And I watched MTV in 95 is when I started watching MTV 95, like right when UMTV Raps came out, and there was it was a big cultural conversation. And I, to be honest, wasn't allowed to watch MTV. We didn't even have MTV. We didn't have cable up until I think 1994, and then when my parents separated or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't know. I didn't even know I'd ever end up being there. Uh, uh, but it was fun, and I'm glad it worked out. And I felt so called to stay there and make that work out. Because I knew what we were doing was special. And you know, in preparation, you said earlier, is there something I forgot? Is there? I want to make sure I say this. You know, just from a mental health perspective, um, my understanding of how I created reality television programming. I'm not saying I created reality TV at all. Real World was already there. My boss created Osbourne's and Newlywed. He is the pioneer still that's doing
Right.
those things. But for me, I took a course my senior year in college where I learned that the versions of the story that we tell ourselves are far from the truth, but yeah, they're the ones that we tend to listen to. If we wanted to
Right.
make a change, we were capable of it. And I struggled with that idea because it felt like you're a liar. In other words, what you're telling me. So if you want to just change, just make it up in your head, and then you just lie to yourself and then lie to the world. And that's kind of like how I took it. And I that week I went back to school. I took out an ad in Backstage magazine. I said, I'm a casting director. I'm looking for actors who want to be in commercials and send me your information. Um, I was a database programmer. I knew Microsoft Excel. So like, when did my creative journey begin? It began when I started a creative document known as a Microsoft Excel grid with a bunch of
Mm.
actor names and contact information, and maybe a couple of little notes, maybe columns about, maybe I might have put gender back in the day, and I would have put you know, notes, energy notes. I'm always big with energy notes. Colors also, like hues of colors, and like saturations and things like that. I sort of tend to describe things in, because it leaves me more room to be creative with what I know I meant, you know, with those initiatives. But it all started with an Excel sheet, and understanding that I have the power to change my reality when I take that action. I landed at MTV where I was surrounded by cameras. So I took what I learned and did and applied that to the tools that I had in front of me. They just happened to be cameras and camera people and producers and writers. And like I said earlier, you know, if we weren't doing microphone and I just had to paint, you know, that just happened to be the medium I learned to change the perception of someone's. So there's two things that happen with reality TV, right? The life changes
Right.
and reality changes. Life changes because you make decisions that are in your real life decisions that change. Then there's the perception of you, which is reality, right? Reality is the perception of your life, and then there is your life. And reality TV changed both. And I thought that's awesome, that you could be seen as like an Emmy award-winning producer or the most humble, and then the rest of the world believes it and buys it and understands it, and so it is. That's powerful. That's so powerful. You know what I mean? That's like, how
Yeah.
did you? And then I'm at MTV at this golden age of artistry and musicality, and you talked about like the one project that got away. I sort of shot the newlyweds version of Nas and Khalees, and it was 8 episodes. It was finished. We have 6 episodes done, color corrected, locked, like like credits, everything is done. So it's $6 million, project there, and like it was 2006, and then we were told that, and then there was some big regime change, and we actually they went with a different project for that half-hour show, which was The Hills, um, and
Oh.
and so you talk about the zing piece to it. Does it suck? Yeah, did it work out for them, by the way? And is it better that their relationship isn't out in public scrutiny, and they got to go through maybe something a little bit more privately than they would have had to go through if they, had a show on TV and everyone knew the relationship the way that, we did and I did, yeah, they were saved by that. Has Nas gone on to create more reality TV programming? Yes. Do I look at every single credit, everything he does, and I go, oh yeah, I helped him. That's like yeah, he's probably using that thing. There's a little bit of me and all. It's the coolest thing. And you just one last story is you brought up Beyonce. So with Beyonce, I got to cast her in Hip Opera, and the MTV approached the label because there's a huge relationship between Columbia Records and MTV at that point, especially Epic Records, and so the label said, no, we're not splitting up Destiny's Child. There's no featuring. No, 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 no. So I went down to TRL when they were on TRL. By the way, happy to go down to TRL because when Destiny's Child was on TRL, they were right across the street from Planet Hollywood. So they always got like the Captain Crunch chicken, which is like my favorite dish. So I'm so happy to go down there. And I see Tina Knowles and Matthew, and I make sure they know of the opportunity directly because I think this is a killer opportunity. It wasn't my decision. I'm not the one I'm not saying like I picked her, but like I could be smooth and make sure the script falls in the right hand. I really believe this was a big moment. And in the audition, which is super cool. So just fast forward, the audition, it's me, her, and Robert Townsend, the director. And she did her lines, and then he sort of gave her notes, and he said, "Look, I don't want her to talk. Then I want you to move up like a foot from her face. I want you to capture her eyes. I just only want to see her eyes. I can see what she's like in the room. I can't see her eyes. Just record her eyes." And he threw some lines at her, and it's like her first entrance scene into a hip opera. But in reading some of the literature and interviews that have come out of that, it was in that film, Hip Opera, Carmen Hip Opera, that Beyonce first came up with Sasha Fierce. Like first created an identity that she could feel comfortable being the Sasha Fierce that we know. She even says, she's like, y'all call me Beyonce, but when you see me on stage, I'm being Sasha Fierce. Like that's like the Beyonce version of Beyonce, and like that's cool to think that I got to be part of the character development. I got to give an artist like that tools and access to an experience, a character development experience where she was able to, as an actor, take that, apply it to her own life. And I always say, like, look, she didn't win any awards on my stuff, but hopefully I was in the reels that got her, the big things. So
right, and look where she at now. And even when you kind of made a comment about creativity and how these things inspire these things and this and that.
Oh yeah.
And how even with me, like with my show now, with me changing the niche and then making it to where, although I still have solo episodes, not as many as I've done before. Now my show is like experience interview based. So now most of my episodes are with guests. But because a lot of people have done this for what? It's the 6th season, and a lot of people enjoy, me by myself. So when they may catch me by myself here and there, but what I've decided to do is like an old to those people because I do like it doing episodes by myself too. And I do like I call it's like almost like a skit. It's kind of like it's synonymous with Peter Griffin's "What Really Grinds My Gears" and like a skit on Saturday Night Live. So
I love
once a
that.
month, it's a segment. It's called "People I Don't Know," and this is gonna go into December. So I'm gonna have it's gonna be 10 episodes. It's the first Friday of the month. My episodes drop on Thursdays. That skit drops on Fridays and the first Friday of the month. And the first one I did, it was people I don't know, people who don't know how to travel. And it was kind of like a rant. I had like a few notes and I just ran about stuff that I don't like with people who don't know how to travel, people who, always tripping. You got that one friend that's always going crazy for no reason. So I guess it's going to be crazy as we go along, but it's just funny how little stuff like that inspires stuff that end up sometimes being the biggest things ever.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our other segment, which is the weekly sabbatical. In this segment, as my people know, we sit back, we just kind of reflect on some things. And so when it comes to talking about thick skin, we bring in that topic back up. So when it comes to thick skin, yes or no? And then I'm going to go into my story. Do you have thick skin?
No.
Oh,
No, it
okay.
hurts. It hurt. I'm a big crybaby, but so I acknowledge that. So no, unfortunately, I don't. I feel everything. It sucks, but I pretend like I do. Mind over matter.
Okay. Now, for me, I'm not going to say I have the thickest, but I definitely have some layers. I'll say that. And, for me, I remember it was interesting learning about how everybody, I used to be so bothered by every comment and everything. And now I feel like God got to put me in a space where it's just like, of course, like stuff don't bother me like it used to. And it used to bother me for like a long time. But now I'd be like, after like 10 minutes, I'd be like, whatever. And that kind of annoys people. But for me, it's just kind of like, I don't know what to tell you, So I think it's a good thing to be open and accept that, you don't have the thickest skin, but you can acknowledge that and say, y'all, I don't, I'm trying to work on that. But, it is what it is because look where you are now. But for those who may say you want to be a star, you kind of maybe got some good feedback here with Vinny. Because now you like, well, I want to be a star. I don't have thick skin. He's in the industry and he doesn't either. But if you say you want to overcome that, I got some ways to do it. So according to 5 ways to build a thick skin so you can live happily, all right, it's 5 ways. So the first one, it says don't shy away from confrontation. I'm for confrontation. I'm with all of that. So, now not going in and just punching people in the face, but standing up for what you believe in. If you like him, I'm sure if you got a project, you feel like, yo, we need to do this, or this person needs to be here, I can make it happen. Do it.
Knowing the
Because
words, right? It's like
right,
knowing the
because
words. The housewives, the night before the housewives shoot a big scene, if they know they're mad at someone, Bethany writes this in her book. They literally will practice the word. They know that if they are impeccable in their speech, that it will stay exactly as it was intended. If it gets verbose and crazy and you start going off topic and is when they're going to edit. And by the way, that's editing in reality TV or like mental editing in reality in like real people life. You know how like I'm like, no, I didn't hear you say that. Just like a mental edit there on that one. That's a great first point though, is about avoiding confrontation. It's a great first point.
yeah.
What's
The
next?
second
Yeah,
the
I'm
second
excited.
one says never take anything personal.
Mm-hmm.
So in reality, it's hard to do that, especially if you are creative and you didn't create something or you didn't put yourself out here and you didn't got in front of these agents and you didn't danced your life away and they like, that's it. That could definitely be, hurtful. But you have to understand, I learned this about a long time ago. My dad told me like everything you got ain't for everybody. So sometimes you have to be okay with people not liking what you have to offer. But you have
Yep.
to like what you have to offer. And that's the issue a lot of times. And that's something too. I feel like with the mental thing with everybody want to be a superstar, you need that validation because you don't
Mm-hmm.
validate yourself, which first comes from up high, then goes from you. So if you don't have that validation, it's like you gonna look for, you're gonna be trying to say, look at me. Like, let me be honest, I'm not gonna drop names, but you see it with some of these stars today. They outside. It's like they look at me, you see me, I'm sexy. Look at me, tell me
Mm-hmm.
how sexy I look like. And it's just like a cry for attention almost. And it's like you saying this is you. Like, for instance, Cardi B, that ain't no cry for attention. That's her. That's her. But
Yeah,
like some of these other ones, it's like it's not you. I
that's
see it's
funny.
not.
It's smart though. I like this. I like this comment, and I would say, don't take it personally. Make it personal. So,
Mm,
like what you said, it's how you respond. It's with the actions that you want and are willing to have associated with the consequences of creating the energy, of stating the cause of, which I love as as a brilliant, brilliant bullet point note, whatever. Number
yeah.
two, don't take it personal. Make it personal though. It is. Feel it. The reason why I have thin skin, I'm a little over empathetic. I'm a
Mm,
big crybaby. I laugh a little louder than everyone else. I'm like, I got this big kind of presence. I always have. I don't shy away from it. It's really hard back then when you weren't allowed to be yourself the way you're allowed to be yourself now. Maybe I might have used the word neurodivergent back then, as I'm learning now certain words that have entered into our lexicon and jargon that have entered into, our industry. Um, but but I took inventory. I know that I'm a big crybaby. I have to work with people who don't have that, skill set that I have, that can counter that strength that I have in a different way. And I'm actually very aware of the types of partners that I do best with, because of that. And to
right.
your point, I get to do, and but how, you know what that means, by the way, because that sounded like vague. What that means is I get to do things that, like NBC, when networks want something to happen, I get to be the energy that goes out and makes that happen first. Not
Hmm.
not again where we know what we want, and we have we have expectations in in some goals, but can you help us get the energy we want? I love that type of conversation, that and energy that I created. All right, so don't take it personal.
Yes, the third one I thought was interesting. So the other ones they have like notes to come with it, but I thought
Yeah,
they were pretty self-explanatory. But this one found interesting. It says express yourself online. It says people online give you their unfiltered opinion. Yes, you can hide behind your computer and maybe it's stupid sometimes, but that's also a good thing in real life. People are never 100% honest with you. It says especially not your friends and family. If you want to get thick skin, go and publish something online. Write a piece on a medium, start a discussion on Reddit, upload a video to YouTube, and read the comments. If you don't get any comments, ask for them. Approach people one on one and ask for their opinion. It says, or put a link on the forum and ask people for their opinion. And I guess it means, of course, if you can find a way to do it anonymous, then that works too. Because then it's like now you getting that honest
yeah,
feedback. Because then it's like it may be that close family member who's scared to tell you and they don't want to, so they're like,
yeah.
I'm gonna do it anonymously. You know?
Stand by your word, right? That's what this is. It's like, don't say you're an ally and then not even show up as a friend.
Right.
The big difference between a friend and an ally. And I think that there's accountability in the words that we speak. And I think that, it's a great advice. It's unfortunate. I'll say this: it's unfortunate advice,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm pointing out that we're moving into a digital age where our digital representation of our opinions and our actions does and will matter. But more importantly, how you're able to communicate those emotions right now when you're not under duress, when you're stressed out, or you're like, or it's time, shit hit the fan, or it's time to talk about something because something happened. The emotions are going to be, raging. If you use the time now to carve out the energy so that you can have the conversation, the words, um, the whole space. You know what I mean? It's not just, the energy. I talk about energy a lot in this. It's interesting, but I'm on like high low frequencies with you. I like it. I like where we're going here.
So then this is the thing too. So the fourth one, it says put things into perspective. That's real simple. Just try to flip the narrative, which is what we do here all the time. Flip the narrative, open your eyes up, with, trying to figure out if you don't have thick skin, see where they're coming from. Are they coming from a place of negativity? And even if they are coming from a place of negativity, are they telling the truth? Because sometimes people will light you up and
Yeah,
they telling you the truth. And even if
yeah.
they intentionally trying to be mean, they're not lying. That fit might be ugly. You might have gained a lot of weight. I it's just, and that's okay if that's what you want to do. You don't mind, But sometimes people can let you know, like, hey, is everything okay? You've been drinking a lot, you gained a lot of weight, you was putting out fire content, ain't put out nothing in a minute, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on? You look sad. Some people like me, I got strong body language, but everybody ain't like that. So that's that.
I like this one perspective, by the way, for a visual representation. Like, think of the exact day and time that 4 o'clock, 4:15 on this corner is where I was when my ex broke up with me and told me I was XYZ, and that's what. So that happened on Thursday at 4 o'clock, and then I want you to look at that day and realize what 1 minute, how the power 1 minute has to impact that 24 hours, and then look
Hmm.
at that week to see how long one day can impact a week, and then look at that month to see how long. And as you pull out to the year plan, the 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, the part you want to be mindful of is if those glaring red flags are consistent for 3 or 5 months, you can't ignore the red flags. And that's a great way to be able to see something that maybe you aren't otherwise seeing, because it's not sometimes so easy to understand the life in perspective. And that's just one way that sort of helps me understand decisions and choices to make as they arise, based on perspective.
Right. Absolutely. And then the fifth one is just it's real simple. You don't have to be liked by everybody. So that's
That's a
I
hard
mean,
one. That's a
for
hard
some,
one.
and it
Yeah.
was for me a long time ago. Like, how old am I? I'm 27. Probably like 10 years ago. So
Yep.
now I don't really care. But it was a time where I did. But it
And how
is
long
what
have
it
you
is.
been a digital creator for? Creating
So I've been
about 10
doing my
years.
huh?
About 10 years.
Well, so I'm 27. So I started my podcast in 2018. And before that, this PSA name was originally a blog. And it was in the fashion of or form of the best week ever, but it was in blog form.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
And I couldn't keep up with it. So eventually I took a break, but I thought the name was still creative. Actually added the mental health part this season. Before then, it was just PSA podcast. But so then I had took a break from that, and I want to keep the name. Started like praying, asking God for revelation, and I had kind of said, well, I was either going to do a YouTube or a podcast. And at first, I was like, but when you get called to do stuff, it's something you would never think. Because I'm like, podcast, I don't want to do
Yeah,
a podcast.
you don't want to get called, man. You want to
But
try to move. When you get called, he's like, walk west. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna do podcasts. I'm
yeah,
busy.
and I said,
Build an arc. I'm like, no, YouTube channel sounds about right for me.
right. And so I hadn't lost weight like I wanted to yet. I'm like,
Oh
okay, I
wow.
don't think I'm ready to be on camera. And I'm like, well, with podcasts, I can just do audio. So I didn't want to do it at first because I didn't start adding visuals until season 3, maybe. Yeah, like season 3. And even then it
Mhm.
wasn't every, and even now it's still technically not every episode. It's most of them, but it's not every, as far as like, but so then time progressed, and then here I am now, season 6.
Cool.
So yeah, started 2018, February 2018, and now I'm trying to retire from my job. But it is what it is. So
We'll talk offline about the monetization strategy for sure. But that's multiple streams. That's what makes a superstar. Multiple streams, and that's why owning a podcast is literally liquid currency. It's social currency. It's you could write checks before they even cash with owning
yeah,
creativity now.
I've seen people do it for sure. So a lot of stuff you answered. So the last question I'm gonna answer before we get into game time is, what is one lesson you learned early in your career that still impacts you today?
Oh, I guess just being on time. To be really blunt, I almost lost my job because I wasn't on time. I didn't. I don't like. I have. I'm not a morning person. I can give you a lot of excuses, but um, there's a lot of opportunities that I've lost because I wasn't on time. And sometimes that stings because I know that I'm the direct result of why it didn't happen or we didn't get to work together. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I was late and they ended up hiring somebody else, and then that show didn't go. If I was on time, then they would have hired me, and then that star, I would have done it different. I would first off, I would have cast someone different. It would be I have that sort of like perspective on it. But I think that has something to do with perspective. Again, I worked at MTV. I worked at MTV. Okay, I worked at in 1999. I worked at MTV, MTV2, MTV Films, MTV.com. Like I worked on MTV UK. I helped write the SOPs, the standard operating procedures for talent development departments and all of the international MTV affiliates. So to me, that feels like all the different surfaces on Instagram, reels, stories, feed, quizzes, stickers. You know what I mean? Like all the different. You think it's one because it's Instagram, but there's really like 80 billion things going on. And I'm so lucky that I got that training at MTV. But if you're not on time, and you don't get extra points for being early, you get no extra points for being early. In fact, it just stings.
Because you just sitting up looking crazy.
Yeah. and then you end up being the I told you so, person. So you gotta, and then I'll say this, the beautiful thing now, because I'm about like 25 years into my career, is the amount of revolutions I've done around the orbits that I've had, and the amount of times I've linked up synergistically with people at pivotal points of their career that seem like they're in a very similar moving orbit as me. So superstars change orbit paths. Superstars attract large planets, large energy, large media companies, large financiers, and all the small pieces, in the middle, if they're surrounding those large, pieces of opportunity, get in on that journey. So actually, I just love the idea of superstars, and as we've talked about, energy and sort of space, but you get none of it if you're not on time. It stinks.
And that's a message for somebody.
Sorry.
That may be the biggest message for somebody the other day.
Yeah.
So finally, we made it to the end, y'all. This has been an episode full of gems. We are at the last segment of the day, game time. In this segment, I'm going to ask you obviously the segment is called Star Loaded. So I'm going to give you 6 scenarios, and you're going to tell me, okay, this person is they got it. This person they ain't it. Some people, they want to be the it factor. They got the I, they ain't got the T. So, all right. So the first one, they handle going viral well. Are they ready for the positive and negative sides of going viral? They ready? They may have some potential or not. They ain't ready
yet. Yeah. Yes. Wait, am I saying yes or no? What's the correct answer?
So yes is they got it.
Yeah, they got it. They got it.
Okay.
Yeah. If they can handle going viral, if they can handle unexpected energy, an unexpected blast of energy that changes their narrative, and now they have to respond to an audience. Yes, they got
it. They delete social media every time somebody tries to cancel them.
Well, this could be an interesting answer. So it depends on what network and what time, but now in 2022, no, that won't work. But I would say this, 10, 15 years ago, that type of personality who was combative and combustive, someone who would put something up and rescind it and still put something up and rescind it, that's an archetype that I could point out in a couple of reality shows of characters that, were successful, in reality TV, but they don't got it now.
All right, the third one, they try to explain themselves when someone misinterprets them.
Oh, well, you said try, so no. So I mean, like an effective communicator, a clear communicator does not even need to speak. Where they stand. To be honest, what is it? Quick to make a judgment, slow to change your mind. I think is like one of the. I feel like Andy says that because that's like. I'm like, is that beat into me from casting Housewives of Jersey or like all those Millionaire Matchmaker shows that I used to cast on Bravo? Like, I feel like that's a mantra for a successful housewife for sure, but a reality star. is quick to take action, slow to change their mind. But there's still a
All right.
possibility to change their mind, but men's a men's.
Right. Okay. So they continue to post content, even though they only get 1 or 2 likes. They continue to post anything that, about their brand, business, whatever.
So, so there's something to be said about consistency, and I'm thinking of our sisters, the Kardashians, and what they've built. And we're able to jumpstart by being consistent, and then what they were able to build after the consistency trick paid off, where people understood who they were, could differentiate them by name, understood the family, understood the archetypes, and then they really built on it. So that being said, it's no longer consistency will get you the winning vote. That's a trick that was great 10, 15 years ago. If you're not paying to get more eyeballs on that, then the platform, and you're not getting highly engaged content, and the platform isn't going to invest in your content if they don't feel like you're investing your creative energy in their audience. So unfortunately, don't got it.
All right. Contemplates quitting their star journey when they don't get picked for any role.
No, Maron. No, no, they don't got it. But if this is in the beginning, this is hard. This is hard, because it's hard to tell people to stay in it and be creative. It takes a lot of work. A lot of work goes into being lucky in this industry. So unfortunately, I think that if that self-doubt doesn't allow you to start, you'll never give yourself the opportunity to gain momentum. It's devastating when people have momentum and then they quit. I'm mindful of those of that sort of energy, but the people who don't have the energy to get up, to share a talent, a gift, an idea, a thought themselves, even, and people. I mean, you don't know this, but if you were ever in a room with me, I wouldn't have called it like an audition room. It would always have been an interview, and people will say, well, I don't really know what you want out of it. And I'd say, me neither. So like, let's just talk and see what we get out of it. And then we can figure out what we have afterwards. But I'm not going in with preconceived notions. I'm not telling you who you are. I'm letting you tell me who you are. That's
right.
That was the law of abundance, law of attraction. That's my casting secret since day one. When I had to replace Tyrese as and Ananda, when Ananda left, and there was no longer a host for direct effect. It was a Funkmaster Flex who introduced me to the programming director at Hot 97, and I said, well, can we just who could we hire? I have to hire hosts. I can go out and look for people, but like, to be honest, why don't I just look for people who already know the right people, and then like it'll the right people will find it, instead of me being responsible for discovering the right people. Let me just know that I'm working with the right people and that's how I got DJ Clue to the network, and then Lala to the network back in the day. And I just think about like how I would cast something where culturally I know I don't understand the nuances. And as much as I could study the music, it's not about knowing the artist at all. It's about understanding the story and the storytelling. So for me, if I could work with people who were already connected to those communities, and I show up saying, "Hey, this is what I got to cast," as opposed to, "Hey, this is the spot I'm trying to fill. Do you know so and so?" But I would say, "Yo,
Right.
I got 2 spots on TRL. You know anyone who would be right for it? They're going to talk about this genre of music, and they're going to have these types of artists on." Or it would be nice if they knew the nuances in a couple of different subcategories of some larger music genres. And I was just lucky to get that experience to figure that out. But law of attraction, law of abundance. So
Okay.
if they don't have the strength to get in front of the camera and just try it out, then I get it. By the way, there's there's the faceless. We have not even seen the begin part of the faceless celebrity yet. So audio has its moment. Text is coming back. Copywriting, storytelling, you know what I mean, is coming back. I don't mean to be silly and ridiculous. We've had some biblical overtones to this conversation, but I'll tell you, if I told you Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, they mentioned a couple of books by name, that so you got to understand how literature can actually impact culture, and everything is cyclical, then it's a really cool time to be a creative. It's a real and a really cool time to be a communicator. And I think we all are creative and we all are communicators. And now we have lots of different platforms to excel in. So if you happen to be good about talking about business tips, go on LinkedIn. If you happen to be good about dancing and doing cool trending things, go on TikTok. If
Right, you gotta know, you gotta know your avenue. And
yeah.
the final question, know the answer, but I still gonna ask. Believes they can get any opportunity they are supposed to.
Oh, believes that they get any opportunity they're supposed to? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Got yes. Yes,
All
got it.
right. All right. So let's end up with the question of the challenge. And this is obviously for the audience. So we didn't have long 2 episodes because you see I didn't broke them into
Yeah,
two
I like
parts.
that. Thank you.
So do you have what it takes to be a star? Why not? Remember, we answering for Cash App, $20. You can do something with $20. You may can't fill up your car, but you maybe can at least get half. All right. So before we go, it's been great. Anything you want to add or tell the people? We're gonna put your Instagram and all your social media. Anything else you want to add?
It's just I believe in you. You believe in me. We exist. I'm looking for you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're creating. But for the last 25 years, that's how I've worked, and it seems to work for me. It's the energy I put out there because I know that other people are doing that, and I have a career full of successes collaborating with people. And if there's any way I can help you be a better creator, a more effective communicator, a stronger creative, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like, I'm down to help out friends. I love that. I love that about what I get to do now. That's it.
All right.
That's my plea. And then start a podcast. It's 30 years from now will be too late. How about that? 30 years. How about the moment? You know how everyone has a cell phone and no one ever thought not everyone has a cell phone in the world, but there are now initiatives where we are taking that into consideration, and there is a larger drive for technology in the hands in a way that we never thought could be possible. Podcasting goes everywhere where those cell phones goes. Any place where an audio signal can go, and not even a Wi-Fi signal. You don't need an active Wi-Fi signal to be able to have downloaded the podcast to go listen to it where Wi-Fi doesn't reach. That's the power of podcasting. That's the power that we have now as communicators to get our message out there to every nook and cranny of the world. And that's power. That's really powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah, most definitely. So, again, thank you for pulling up on us at the PSA podcast for these two
Yeah.
parts. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.